welcome to
No,
Moreness
no, no,
Culture.
no, no, no. I was going to say wait, I was going to say we are live now, remember? There,
So
we are
Moreness,
live now.
hello and welcome to Moreness Culture. Good morning, Syl.
Good morning, Beena. Good morning, Beena.
I know that you are doing
Yes,
well.
we are live.
It's a good day, and we feel excited. Of course,
Yes,
I was keen to
yes.
do this reading, and even when I asked him that, okay, oh, do you want to cancel it? He said no. So we are excited. We are in high energy because for me, at least,
Oh, yeah.
what we are doing is a special capital R reading of Don Juan and Carlos experiences, of course. Uh, but this is something very interesting for me because I'm not familiar with these type of experiences. What the Carlos is having with Don Juan, and it's a new thing to know about these experiencing. I'm trying to understand uh, as much as I can, just be as neutral as I can, and with open mind, and without having any shirts or without having any previous perceptions about Carlos and about Don Juan or about their experiences and practices. Because one of my friends said at one point, he says to me, because I was just smiling at someone who was wearing a different color dress, a guy wearing a shocking pink color. And I just smiled. And my friend just caught me and he says that, why you were smiling? And I said, oh, look at his dress. It was a very hot afternoon and we were coming out of our institute and I saw him and I was smiling. And my friend says, Veena, if see, he could see you smiling like this, you would be like really ruining his day. You don't know that how wonderful he was feeling. And this might be his best suit. And the way you were smiling could ruin his happiness. And I said, yes, but it is different. He says, yes, it is different. Uh, but I know what you are actually, you really want to say is, it's weird. And I said, yes, I confess, yes. And he says, whatever we don't do is weird for us. Everything, what we are not doing and other people are doing, it's weird. It's unacceptable, of course, when people want harsh things on harsh level. Oh, it's unacceptable. Oh, it's sin. And of course, in religious context, it's a sin and all that. Whatever we don't do is weird. We all have just a different category of it. When it comes to religion, they make it a sin. When it comes to cultural thing, oh, it's not normal. Oh, it's weird. It's unacceptable. All sort of things. So I want to, and I'm working on it to get out of this mindset. Nothing should be weird if other people are doing. We need to learn to be open. I don't need to do that if I don't want. But it doesn't mean that these things are bad or weird or unusual and acceptable and all that. Things are just things. And this is what I'm learning from Way-Of-Impeccability. Incidents happen, things happen, people do things, people are different. They're not weird or anything, they're just different. And
Exactly.
that's why
Exactly.
celebrating differences is a huge transformative concept from Way-Of-Impeccability.
Celebrating difference itself.
Exactly.
Celebrating difference.
Yes. So it is not like that, okay, oh, because, oh, I'm celebrating you because you are good and all that. No. Celebrating difference itself is a transformative concept from Way-Of-Impeccability. And when once we understand that, once we start behaving according to that, then everything becomes good. Everything becomes an opportunity to learn and grow. And that's it. No grudges, no bias, no judgments, nothing.
Huge.
This is the
Huge,
key.
huge, huge, huge.
This is the key to be receptive without being influenced. Because once I'm saying that I'm celebrating difference, which means that I'm accepting these things are different. We two are different. So I don't need to change for you, and you don't need to change for me. I don't need to change for anything, and you also don't need to change for anything. And that is what celebrating the difference is. To
Yeah,
be
very big
receptive,
deal.
to focus on celebrating the difference. So
Absolutely.
this is my today's thought, and now
Ah,
we are going to start doing capilla reading, a very special reading for me
yes,
of Don Juan and Carlos. So please share screen,
yes,
Syl,
yes.
so we can start.
The books of Carlos Castaneda. We're on book
Carlos
one, just
Castaneda.
to be clear, right, Beena? Yeah. I mean, somebody who doesn't
Yes,
know Carlos and Don
yes.
Juan doesn't know what we're talking about, right?
Okay, okay. The books
Yeah.
of yes,
The books of Carlos Castaneda, but we're interested in Don Juan.
yes.
Don Juan and what he has to share is most profound, as we're going to see. So far, not so much, but it will come. It will come. It will come. I'm just finishing the sharing. My computer's a little slow. Internet's a bit slow. But I'm nearly there. I have the file up, so we're ready to go in a second. It's a very exciting story. And again, so keep in mind, everything for Don Juan is about attunement. Yes, attunement and being impeccable. And those are the two absolute keys to understanding everything about Don Juan. It's very, very essential to understand this. Very essential. All right, very cool, very cool. Let me just check in on Instagram, and we have Debbie Das Laukas. Haha. I'll just call you Debbie. So hello, Debbie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very cool. Very cool. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad you're joining us, mate. We're about to get going right now. Screen share. Here we go. There we go. I'm Beena. We ended
Yes.
yesterday, but I don't remember reading that last sentence of where we were. So before we start, because we ended our section, right? And we're going to start here
Hmm.
Saturday, 5 August. But I just wanted to read this last sentence here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or last two sentences. But the second change, the awakening to serious, sober consciousness, was genuinely shocking. I had forgotten I was a man. The sadness of such an irreconcilable situation was so intense that I wept. I don't remember reading that sentence at all. Do you?
Oh yes. No, I don't also. Wow.
Wow, that's amazing to me that we both just completely didn't remember it. You know. So this was Don Juan, sorry, Carlos saying this. Carlos had just taken peyote, right? Was Maskalito, as Don Juan calls it, right? But and he doesn't know that he's met Maskalito yet. Don Juan's going to explain it to him later, and it's a big deal for Don Juan. It's a huge deal for Don Juan. We're going to see soon. But so this sentence. He's talking about the shift from being inside the hallucinogenic experience or the spiritual experience, and he's coming out of it, and he'd forgotten that he was a man. It was so intense, right? And he's weeping because he'd forgotten this. Sort of an odd thing to weep about, but all right, Carlos is a bit odd. Yeah. All right, so here we go. Go ahead, Beena.
Okay.
No, one moment. Let me
In the
just
meantime, I was just sharing things on. Okay, my screen is okay. It is coming back.
ah,
Okay.
there we go.
Saturday, 5th August, 1961. Later that morning, after breakfast, the owner of the house, Don Juan, and I drove back to do. It is not okay. All visible to me. So okay, yes, thank you. To Don Juan's place. Was very tired, but I couldn't go sleep in the truck. Only after the man had left did I fall asleep on the porch of Don Juan's house. When I woke up, it was dark. Don Juan had covered me up with a blanket. I looked for him, but he was not in the house. He came later with a pot of fried beans and stack of tortillas. I was extremely
Tortillas,
hungry.
tortillas.
Okay, tortillas. After we had finished eating, After we had finished eating and were resting, he asked me to tell him all that had happened to me the night before. I related my experience in great detail uh, and as accurately as possible. When I had finished, he nodded his head and said, I think you are fine. It is difficult for me to explain now how and why, but I think it went all right for you. You see, sometimes he is playful, like a child. At other times, he is terrible, fearsome. He either frolics and he is dead serious.
Or he either frolics or.
Okay. He either frolics or he is dead serious. It is impossible to know beforehand what he will be like with another person. Yet, when one knows him well, sometimes you played with him tonight. Okay. You played with him tonight. You are the only person I know who has had such an encounter.
Look at that,
In
what he
what
says
way?
here. You're the only person I know who has had such an encounter. That's something. That's
Yes.
very, very, is something noteworthy there. Right?
Yes. In what way does my experience differ from that of others? You're not an Indian. Therefore, it is hard for me to figure out what is what. Yet, he either takes people or rejects them, regardless of whether they are Indians or not. That I know. I have seen numbers of them. I also know that he frolics. He makes some people laugh, but never have I seen him play with anyone. Can you tell me now? Oh, can you tell me now, Don Juan, how does beauty protect?
You see,
He did
again,
not
he
let
doesn't say Maskalito, he says Rio.
Yes, he did not let me finish. Vigorously, he touched me on the shoulder. Don't you ever name him that way? You haven't seen enough of him yet to know him. How does Maskalito protect people? He advises. He answers whatever questions you ask. Then Maskalito is real. I mean, he is something you can see.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so this obsession with real, this is a very peculiar Western thing, and
Hmm.
it's a madness of a kind, right? And that's why in Way of Impeccability, the focus is on value and usefulness. End of story. Real is not an issue. It's totally irrelevant if something's real or not. If I get value and usefulness out of it, what does it matter? It's a silly
Hmm.
obsession. It's a silly obsession to assume you can only get value out of real things. I mean, and our daily experience, we get value out of the TV, for heaven's sake. You know, entertainment. None of it's real. It's all nonsense. But yet we get lots of value out of it. Right? It's just crazy, this obsession with real.
Yes.
Yeah, please keep going, Beena.
He seemed to be baffled by my question. He looked at me with a sort of blank expression. What I meant to say is that Maskalito. I heard what you said. Didn't you see him last night? I wanted to say that I saw only a dog, but I noticed his bewildered look. Then you think what I saw last night was him? He looked at me with contempt. He chuckled, shook his hand as though he couldn't believe it, and in a very belligerent tone he added,
Belligerent.
okay, belligerent tone he added, a pook of Greece, we eratu, mama. Don't tell me you believe it was your mama. Okay. He paused. He paused before saying mama because what he meant to say was, I don't know what it is, to chingada
Chingada
madre.
madre.
Yeah, to chingada madre. An idiom used as a disrespectful allusion to the other party's mother. The word mama was so in uh, congruous that we both laughed for a long time. By the way, madra is also in Persian, mother, for
Yeah,
mother.
it's very,
Yes,
very
it's a
common
common.
all around the world.
Yes, yes. Then I realized he had fallen asleep and had not answered my question. Uh, Sunday
So this
6,
is something that
August.
Don Juan does, by the way. He switches things up. In other words, the whole expression that he said, it had a typical ending. So when you read it there was that dash which you didn't read, you see? Apoco crisque era tu mama. See, it is expecting the usual, but then Don Juan switches it up on him. And Don Juan does this quite often. It's very cool. And Carlos doesn't click that Don Juan is communicating, don't expect the usual, and he continues to expect the usual. Anyway, Sunday, 6 August 1961.
Sunday, August 6, 1961. I drove Don Juan to the house where I had taken purity. On the way, he told me that the name of the man who had offered me to Maskalito was John. When we got to the house, we found John sitting on his porch with two young men. All of them were extremely jovial. They laughed and talked with great ease. The three of them spoke English perfectly. I told John that I had come to thank him for having helped me. I wanted to get their views on my behavior during the hallucinogenic experience and told them I had been trying to think of what I had done that night and that I couldn't remember. They laughed and were reluctant to talk about it. They seemed to be holding back on account of Don Juan. They all glanced at him as though waiting for an affirmative cue to go on. Don Juan must have cued them, although I did not notice anything, because suddenly John began to tell me what I had done that night. He said he knew I had been taken. When he heard me puking, he estimated that I must have puked 30 times. Don Juan corrected him and said it was only 10 times. Wow. John continued, then we all moved next to you. You were stiff and were having convulsions for a very long time. While lying on your back, you moved your mouth as though talking. Then you began to bump your head on the floor. And Don Juan put an old hat on your head and you stopped it. You shivered and whined for hours, lying on the floor. I think everybody fell asleep then, but I heard you puffing and groaning in my sleep. Then I heard you scream and I woke up. I saw you leaping in the air, screaming. You made a dash for the water, knocked the pan over and began to swim in the puddle. Don Juan brought you more water. You sat quietly in front of the pan. Then you jumped up and took off all your clothes. You were kneeling in front of the water, drinking in big gulps. Then you just sat there and stared into space. We thought you were going to be there forever. Nearly everybody was asleep, including Don Juan. And suddenly you jumped up again, howling, and took after the dog. The dog got scared and howled too, and ran to the back of the house. Then everybody woke up. We all got up. You came back from the other side, still chasing the dog. The dog was running ahead of you, barking and howling. I think you must have gone 20 times around the house, running in circles, barking like a dog. I was afraid people were going to be curious. There are no neighbors close, but your howling was so loud. It could have been heard for miles. One of the young men added, you caught up with the dog and brought it to the porch in your arms. John continued, then you began to play with the dog. You wrestled with him, and the dog and you bit each other and played. That I thought was funny. My dog does not play usually, but this time you and the dog were rolling on each other. Then you ran to the water and the dog drank with you, the young man said. You ran 5 or 6 times to the water with the dog. How long did this go on? I asked. Hours, John said. At one time we lost sight of you two. I think you must have run to the back. We just heard you barking and groaning. You sounded so much like a dog that we couldn't tell you two apart. Maybe it was just the dog alone, I said. They laughed, and John said, "You were barking there, boy. What happened next?"
It's like, colors is of importance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The three men looked at one another and seemed to have a hard time deciding what happened next. Finally, the young man, who had nor yet said anything, spoke up. He joked and he said, looking at John, "Yes, you certainly choked. You began to cry very strangely, and then you fell to the floor. We thought you were biting your tongue. Don Juan opened your jaws and poured water on your face. Then you started shivering and having convulsions all over again. Then you stayed motionless for a long time. Don Juan said it was all over, but by then it was morning, so we covered you with a blanket and left you to sleep on the porch." He stopped there and looked at the other man, who were obviously trying not to laugh. He turned to Don Juan and asked him something. Don Juan smiled and answered the question. John turned to me and said, "We left you here on the porch because we were afraid you were going to piss all over the room." All laughed very loudly. "What was the matter with me?" I asked. Did you?" John sort of mimicked me. "You were not going to mention it, but Don Juan says it is all right. You pissed all over my dog." "What did I do?" "You don't think the dog was running because he was afraid of you, do you? The dog was running because you were pissing on him." There was general laughter at this point. I tried to question one of the young men, but they were all laughing, and he didn't hear me. John went on, "My dog got even though. He pissed on you too." This statement was apparently utterly funny because they all roared with laughter, including Don Juan. When they had quieted down, I asked in all earnestness, "Is it really true? This really happened?" "They're still laughing," John replied. "I swear my dog really pissed on me." Driving back to Don Juan's place, I asked him, "Did all that really happen, Don Juan?" "Yes," he said, "but they don't know what you saw. They don't realize you were playing with him. This is why I did not disturb you." "But is this business of the dog and me pissing on each other true?" "It was not a dog. How many times do I have to tell you this? This is the only way to understand it. It's the only way. It was he who played with me." I have a question here.
Yeah.
They said that he took off all his clothes, but he didn't mention that when he woke up.
No, it didn't. Yeah. Well, because Carlos is not going to volunteer that he was naked because that's very embarrassing for him. See?
No, but
So,
he should understand about himself. Like, oh, what happened to
yeah,
me?
yeah,
But this is missing here.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
Did you know all this was happening before I told you about it? He vacillated uh,
Vacillate.
for an vacillated for an instant before answering. "No, I remember after you told me about it, the strange way you looked, I just suspected you were doing fine because you didn't seem scared. Did the dog really play with me, as they say?" Oh, it was not a dog.
Yeah, Carlos is, he doesn't update, right? He doesn't update, and that not updating is a big deal because he holds on to his worldview. And this is so important to change his worldview, and he doesn't, right? And as a result, he's very retarded. He's very backward. He's very blocked in all of his learning because he refuses to update his worldview.
But
It's very important,
still,
right?
but
Yeah,
still, as a new person who don't know about these things and want to learn,
yeah.
how he is going to just accept this idea that someone is saying that this was, but all his senses were telling him a different story.
Well, not really though, because look at his senses during the experience. The dog was luminescent. It's not a normal dog. So the whole experience was already transformed. See, and the
Mm.
way the way this new entity, right, with this luminescent fibers streaming out through the hair and all this, right? How it was playing him by making him do things by like moving its head and everything. That's none of it is normal. But now you still want to insist that it's normal, right? The whole experience was abnormal.
Mm.
None of it was dog behavior. Huh? See? So no. It was definitely, a different thing. So you can't say it's dog because that's not what it's not dog behavior. It's not within the capabilities of dogs as we know it. Right? See?
Yes.
So when you look at it that way, then it changes, right?
Okay.
Yeah. The whole experience was completely different. Yeah. So
Mm.
hello, Lubna. Hello, Lubna. Also came and joined us. So that's wonderful. Very good. Very good. All right, let's go back to where we were. Wonderful. All right, so let's Thursday, 17 August.
Okay. Thursday, 17th August, 1961. I told Don Juan how I felt about my experience. From the point of view of my intended work, it had been a disastrous event. I said I did not care for another similar encounter with Maskalito. I agreed that everything that had happened to me had been more than interesting, but added that nothing in it could really move me towards seeking it again. I seriously believed that I was not constructed for that type of endeavor. Purity had,
Self-importance.
purity had produced in me as a post reaction, a strange kind of physical discomfort. It was an indefinite fear of unhappiness, melancholy of some sort, which I could not define exactly. And I did not find that state noble in any way. Don Juan laughed and said, "You are beginning to learn. This type of learning is not for me. I'm not made for it, Don Juan. You always exaggerate. This is not exaggeration. It is. The only trouble is that you exaggerate the bad points only. There are no good points so far as I'm concerned. All I know is that it makes me afraid. There is nothing wrong with being afraid. When you fear, you see things in different way.
All right,
But
so
I
so
don't
let's
care.
pull that as a quote. That's kind of
Yes.
a cool quote. There's nothing wrong with
Yes.
being afraid. When you fear, you see things in a different way. And I think that's quite potent there. So, and this is in one page. Let's see what page this is. Page 29. So yeah, it's just a perception. Carlos doesn't want to really recognize, this, and I'll put this under perception again, right? So it's about perception, right? As a tag, yeah. Right. See, and here we see Carlos's problem, but I don't care
Yes.
about seeing
But I
things in
don't
a
care
different
about
way.
seeing things in a different way, Don Juan. I think I'm going to leave the learning about Maskalito alone. I can't handle it, Don Juan. This is really a bad situation for me. Of course it is bad. Even for me, you're not the only one who is baffled. Why should you be baffled, Don Juan? I have been thinking about what I saw the other night. Maskalito actually played with you. That baffled me because it was an indication. Omen. What kind of indication, Don Juan? Maskalito was pointing you out to me.
Yeah. One
What
second.
for?
Look how Carlos translates omen at first. Later he'll just use omen, but he says indication here. Puts omen in brackets. Yeah. Right. See,
Maskalito
it's
was
very
pointing out
interesting.
to me, pointing you out to me. What for? It wasn't clear to me then, but now it is. He meant you were the chosen man. Escogido, okay, Maskalito, pointed you out to me, and by doing that, he told me you were the chosen man. Do you mean I was chosen among others for some task or something of the sort? No, what I mean is, Maskalito told me you could be the man I'm looking for. When did he tell you that, Don Juan? By playing with you. He told me that. This makes you the chosen man for me. What does it mean to be the chosen man?
All right, one second here, right? Attunement again. You see, everything has significance. And now, Don Juan never uses the term anomaly or anything similar, right? But this is what made this incident stand out for Don Juan, because it was anomalous. Don Juan had obviously seen many people engage with Maskalito, but he said, sometimes he was jovial with them and made them laugh, but never did he play with them. So the playing with someone is anomalous. Yeah. And okay, Don Juan is not an Indian, but from his comments, he said, you know, he had seen other non-Indians take it, right? So it's not like, okay, he's a non-Indian and this was now, right? So you can't just put it down to that. So this fact that he played is anomalous to Don Juan. And this is why in Way-Of-Impeccability, when we understand attunement, and this word attunement, which Don Juan also does use, is very powerful because it helps us to really understand this particular perspective of Don Juan's. As it comes through all the time, and it is very, very important. So this pointing out this anomaly that Don Juan now takes to be, and he understands it, right? That he has to interpret it. That's how anomalies work. You have to do some work in it. And when he does, it makes a massive difference. And this fact of Carlos being this chosen man for him, we'll see now what it means, but more. But this Don Juan is this. It changes everything for Don Juan, and he acts on it. And it's something that it's not like, well, okay, more or less. No, it's very, very serious. And Don Juan will go to the ends of the earth in order to satisfy the requirements of what is pointed out by attunement, right? Which he does. He goes to a lot of effort with Don Juan, with Carlos, as we'll see. Right? Now, it's a very big deal. So again, see how this works now, right? We see Don Juan utilizing an anomaly. He doesn't say that, but it would be very helpful if he did. It helps us to understand. All right. What does that mean? What does it mean?
What does it mean to be the chosen man? There are some secrets I know. Tangos, secretos. Okay, I have secrets. I won't be able to reveal to anyone unless I find my chosen man. The other night, when I saw you playing with Maskalito, it was clear to me you were that man, but you are not an Indian. How baffling. But what does it mean to me? Hormone, what do I have to do? I've made up my mind and I'm going to teach you the secrets that make up the lot of a man of knowledge.
Of a man of knowledge, right? I love this term, man of knowledge. Or person of knowledge. I don't care for the man part.
Do you mean the secrets about Maskalito? Yes, but those are not all the secrets I know. There are others of different kind, which I would like to give to someone. I had a teacher myself, my benefactor, and I also became his chosen man upon performing a certain feat. He taught me all I know. I asked him again what this new role would require of me. He said learning was the only thing involved. Learning in the sense of what I had experienced in the 2 sessions with him. The way in which the situation had evolved was quite strange. I had made up my mind to tell him I was going to give up the idea of learning about peyote. And then before I could really make my point, he offered to teach me his knowledge. I did not know what he meant by that, but I felt that this sudden turn was very serious. I argued I had no qualification for such a task, as it requires a rare kind of courage which I did not have. I told him that my bent of character was to talk about acts others performed. Wow. I wanted to hear his views and opinions about everything. I told him I could be happy if I could sit there and listen to him talk for days. To me, that would be learning. He listened without interrupting me. I talked for a long time. Then he said, all this is very easy to understand. Fear is the first natural enemy a man must overcome on his path to knowledge. Yes. Yes, Tom. Besides, you are curious. That evens up the score, and you will learn in spite of yourself. That's the rule.
Okay, let me add this to my quote file, right?
Yes,
That's good
please.
quote.
Yes. Yes.
Fear is the first natural enemy a man must overcome, a person must overcome on his path, on their path to knowledge. Inside, you are curious, that evens up the score, and you will learn in spite of yourself. That's the rule. Very cool, very cool, very cool. Okay. Page 51. Okay. So this is it goes under Warrior's Way, as we'll see later on. Yes, qualified it yet, but it's there. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back. Okay.
I protested for a while longer, trying to dissuade. What is the pronunciation for that?
Dissuade.
Dissuade. Okay, yes. Trying to dissuade him, but he seemed to be convinced there was nothing else I could do but learn. You're not thinking in the proper order, he said. Maskalito actually played with you. That's a point to think about. Why don't you dwell on that instead of on your fear?
Right. You see, this, and it's a bit of a hole in Don Juan's communication, that he doesn't communicate that it was anomalous, and because it's anomalous, it comes from attunement. It's truly anomalous, right? Not unusual, anomalous. And this difference between anomalous and unusual, I feel, if Carlos had been impressed upon the fact that it was an anomaly and understood this more in the greater context of attunement, he wouldn't be so stuck on it, and it would really impact on him the importance of it. Right? That anomalies are communications from the universe, or from your own moreness, if you want to think of it that way. Your greater self, higher self, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter from where, but it's a communication that we need to take seriously. Right? Okay, go ahead, Beena.
Okay. Was it so unusual? You are the only person I have ever seen playing with him. You're not used to this kind of life. Therefore, the indications, omens, bypass you. Yet you are a serious person. But your seriousness is attached to what you do, not to what goes on outside you. Oh, wow.
See, you got
You
to
are
pay
a,
attention to the world. That's why, in Way of Impeccability, one of the capital A terms is attention and awareness. Right? You need to really pay attention. Carlos is only inside himself. He should pay attention to what goes. In other words, that paying attention to the world around you. This is capital H hearing. Right? Remember, capital H hearing is a spiritual activity, and this is, yes, it's in a, yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah, makes sense,
no,
right?
it is personally huge for me. See, like I was saying that, okay, I'm going to meet Don Juan. And this is a direct, really, I feel personally, it is really direct talking, really.
Yeah,
Because you are a serious person, but your seriousness is attached to what you do, not to what goes on outside you. This is exactly, wow. Thank you. Thank you, Don Juan.
yeah, yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
why attunement, right? See, when you
Yes.
start to pay attention to what goes on outside you, you start to live in attunement, and now everything changes.
Yes, well, of course, this is attunement, but also that he is addressing that you are a serious person, but your
Yeah,
seriousness is attached to this. This part is really okay important for
yeah,
me because the assumption is that I'm a serious person, and of course I am serious. Whatever I do, I'm very serious. But that assumption is that everything is serious, but actually not. Because of my personal seriousness, I do take things for granted sometimes, which are truly anomalous for other people, um, and unusual, unexpected, but they happen to me regularly. So I just like, okay, yes. So this is very interesting. Thank you, Don Juan, for saying this. Please, will you please just uh, save it for me? I will take it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Just yes. You are a serious person, but you're
No,
serious.
I mean, okay, you're not used to this kind of life, right? Which,
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm gonna take
Please.
it from there, right? The whole quote.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Power of intent right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
One moment. I think it's on page 32 now. I imagine. Oh, still 30.
You're not used to this kind of life. Therefore, the indication.
One moment, Venus. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you are not used to this kind of life. Therefore, the indications, omens, bypass you. Yet you are a serious person, but your seriousness is attached to what you do, not to what goes on outside you. You dwell upon yourself too much. That's the trouble, and that produces a terrible fatigue. Wow. Yeah. But what else can anyone do, Don Juan? Seek and see the marvels all around you. You will get tired of looking at yourself alone, and that fatigue will make you deaf and blind to everything else. Oh my God.
Right. So when I first read this way back when, that line, seek and see the marvels around you, that that really resonated with me. That really gelled, and man, yes, this is very cool, and that I like that very much. That was a big deal. That was a very big deal,
Oh,
very big deal. So this is again, this is all Warriors Way. Okay, very cool stuff. Seek and see the marvels all around. You will get tired of looking at yourself alone. And that fatigue will make you deaf and blind to everything else. Now look at Way-Of-Impeccability, how we live in this moreness, right? In the whole moreness culture. Why? Because you're living in attunement and you are seeing the moreness out there. Not just seeing the moreness, but extracting the moreness, right? Because you are deaf and blind to it. It's a big, big deal.
wow. You have a point, Don Juan, but how can I change? Think about the wonder of Maskalito playing with you. Think about nothing else. The rest will come to you of itself.
All right, so I think we end here because I have to
Yes.
leave a little earlier, and it's also a
Yes.
good point to end on, right? So think of the wonder of Maskalito playing with you, the anomalousness of it. See, unfortunately, this word, this concept of anomaly, isn't used ever in any of the books. But had it been here, it would really have shifted on Carlos, right? Because he doesn't quite get it, that Maskalito playing it doesn't really click with him because he's not understanding it's anomalous. That's why it's important. It's not the playing part, it's the anomaly part. See? See the difference between it?
Yes.
Right. And that just is a very important distinction. And it's unfortunate that this is not, it may have been part of Don Juan's communication, we don't know, but it didn't come through in, because this is Carlos is taking this from his notes in his memory. It's not communicated or emphasized or connected to or recognized. Now, I doubt it because, if that word anomaly had been used, you would think it would come up at some point. So I doubt it. But anyway, this is for me. I feel a contribution that I've made to this particular body of knowledge, attunement and anomalies. Very big deal. Well, and alignment also, not just attunement, but alignment. You first have to attune and
Yes.
then you align. But it's also just anomalies, this whole understanding of anomalies. It changes things. It changes things. And she uses this term omen. And omen has a lot of baggage because people think omens have particular understanding to them. Right? Like this thing happens, and then you go look it up in the book of omens. It's just complete nonsense. No, it's always individual. It's always personal. It may overlap with somebody else, but that's just happenstance. That's very important. All right, so we are on Sunday, August 61. So that's very cool that we get some. We started to find a few quotes. In this
Yes.
book, there are relatively few of them, but they are potent, right? They are potent. Just like this one,
Yes.
seek and see the
Yes.
marks all around. Now, because it's revealing a different a person underneath, right? Don Juan, because this is a sophisticated point here that he's making, right? I mean, just to seek and see the marvels all around you, that alone is something that's very, I've never seen it said anywhere else, really, right? And then you will get tired of looking at yourself alone, and that fatigue will make you deaf and blind to everything else. This is a very, very sophisticated understanding of psychology that is said in a very compressed, condensed, very concise, precise way. Yeah? So the communication is excellent. It's what really impressed me about Don Juan. And, I put up with, we at the very start of the book still, right? There's lots to go, but we're only on page 31. Uh, there's more experiences coming with Maskalito, but it made me put up with all of that because that's not of value to me because I don't have access to it. I don't have access to do it with someone like Don Juan. And so it's not something that I can use in my life. All of the experiences with Maskalito, right? None of it is of any value and relevance to me because I cannot duplicate it. I cannot use it. I mean, even if I did want to do it, I was not able to. Right? So, so for me, all this, that type of an experience, it really doesn't mean anything. It's these things that we pull. They are what matters because this I can use. This has value and usefulness. Correct? Right? Now, all of the information that he gives about his experience, taking peyote or his experience with Maskalito, none of it is of any use to me. Right? You muted me. You muted.
Sorry. Yes. Yes.
Right? You see what I mean? That usefulness. And when I was reading this, I had the same perspective. Right? I like kind of put up with all this other stuff because these little morsels were enough to grab me. They really were such a highlight, such a bright point, and they shifted and said, "Wow, I got to read more of this." Right? This was a very big deal here, very very big deal. So I kept reading, looking for more of this, and in the next two books there are tons of them. Right? So my it's like almost to me it's like the universe giving you a test. Can you get through this? I gave you a little taste. I gave you a little morsel. Are you able to recognize this the start of a path, right? And yes, we are able to. You too. This has grabbed you very deeply enough for you to continue through all of the other stuff, right? You don't want to give up
Yes.
reading now. You want to get to know Don Juan more, right?
Yes.
That's very powerful. And we were fortunate or are fortunate that we came into it where the other books are already published. But I would imagine if we'd read this in 1967, that would have been enough to read the second. Yeah, doesn't matter. All right, very cool. We'll end it there for today. Very
Yes.
magical, very cool.
Yes.
Everything
Thank
really
you
great.
so much, sir, for sharing this, and thank you so much, Don Juan, because uh, of course it might not be a big deal for other people, and of course for self, but for me, this is a big deal because when someone it I felt like that he was directly personally talking to me and saying that, okay, because this is the key. If you can learn, if you can learn. Of course, from Way of Impeccability, I have read this concept in detail, but sometimes you need just some personal connectivity, and this is what is happening right now. Again, I would say that this is the power of intent and the power of clarity of intent, because I keep reminding myself what is my intent to do this capital R reading, and it is coming through really, really amazingly for me. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be part of this. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Before we go, um, anyone, especially Norma, and of course other people who are watching us live, who were watching us live and will watch us recorded, please do click like and subscribe, and also leave a comment here. We are open for questions, and also we are open for anyone to want to join us on Zoom also.
Oh, yeah.
It would be just a reading experience, but still, it will be valuable, of course, for us. So please do pay attention to your online algorithm also, because it ultimately your online algorithm is going to affect your real life algorithm. Please do pay attention to what you are taking in terms of just reading, just swiping, just scrolling, but it is all going. Your subconscious is still receiving all those messages. Do pay attention to what you really want in life. Life, the purpose of life right now is to learn and grow. This is the purpose of life for me. So what you want to learn, be very clear about it and pay attention to, even just for a few seconds. If you are paying attention, every attention is a connection. Please do
And to
connect
learn
with
and grow your awareness, not to learn and grow your database.
Yes.
Very big difference.
Yes.
Very big difference.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
Very big
Thank you so
difference to
much,
understand
Syl.
that.
And I know that
Thank
okay,
you
you have to go, because Syl is going to have a podcast, and it's all about him. He actually shares a lot of things, and
I'm being
if
interviewed by celebrity interviewer Jill Nicolini. You can go look her up.
yes, yes, and it's a weekly thing, so you can join him there, make a call, and ask him questions directly. So thank you so much. See you, Syl. See you.
I upload them to my YouTube channel and to the website also, Nobelia.org.
Yes.
Very accessible.
Okay.
All right. Bye bye,
Okay, so
everybody. Bye bye, Beena. Bye
bye
bye,
for now.
Beena.